Sometimes I do this thing where in order to feel better about myself, I look at worse examples of humanity than me, and one of the best worst examples of humanity that I know of is Data from Star Trek The Next Generation. So I sat down the other day and I watched Data's Day, which is a great Data episode, maybe the best Data episode, and it's also got lots of O'Brien stuff, and I love O'Brien, so that was wonderful. But what I didn't intend to do was to continue watching all of the rest of the 4th season, which is fantastic, and I continued into the 5th season of The Next Generation, watching Darmok, which is maybe the first time I've ever seen this episode. I'm a little bit mad that I'd never seen it before, because it's a really great episode. It may be my new favorite episode of Star Trek The Next Generation. Just for so many reasons. The premise is that Picard is trapped on an island with a single other alien person, and this is an alien species that has been encountered many times by the Federation, but there has never been genuine contact because they can't communicate. The reason for this is because these aliens don't speak in concrete statements. They discuss things through cultural allusions and metaphors, and the Starfleet officers, basically no one in the Federation, has the same cultural identity or the same cultural background and underpinning as these aliens. So they say things like Shaka when the walls fell, and that indicates defeat or failure in some way. And Picard pieces this together through context, but he doesn't know Shaka. He doesn't know the story of Shaka, or what it meant to Shaka, what Shaka did, or what happened around Shaka when the walls fell. So it's not immediately comprehensible. The way Troy explains this is, it's like if I were to say to you, Juliet on the balcony. You would have a pretty immediate, evocative idea of what I intended when I said Juliet on the balcony, because you're familiar with the story of Romeo and Juliet. You're familiar with the balcony scene. Pretty much anyone who's going to watch this video, or indeed any video on the internet, is familiar with that story, regardless of whether or not they've read the source text. This idea is really powerful and interesting, and it made me think so much of modern poetry. You know, you take just When the Walls Fell. If you replace that person, the specific person whose experience is being referenced, it becomes a very different analogy. You know, you say Shaka when the walls fell, and there are some specific people who will understand that that indicates failure. You say Joshua when the walls fell, in reference to Jericho, and that is triumph. That is maybe not even military triumph, but triumph of ingenuity, of music, potentially. There are a lot of references that come from Joshua when the walls fell. And then there's Berlin when the wall fell. That is indicative of a lot of other things. But all of these statements are blank when the walls fell. And they mean so many different things. This is what is so powerful and amazing about modernist poetry. You take something like Ezra Pound or T.S. Eliot, and it is just chock full, just completely dense with cultural allusions and metaphors. You will understand some of them. Maybe you will understand all of them, but it's highly unlikely because there are so many and they are so specific. Instead, what you often get is an experience of when the walls fell. So Eliot will say something and maybe mean something very specific that you don't pick up, but you're thinking instead of Shaka when the walls fell, you don't know what Shaka is, so you plug in, you know, Joshua. And you read the poem as if he's saying Joshua when the walls fell, instead of Shaka when the walls fell. And you get a very different experience of the poem in that way. And there's so many references and allusions that you're going to plug in the wrong thing over and over. So the sum experience of your reading this poem is unique to you and the mistakes that you've made in reading this poem. But that's what makes it so amazing to me, because you get to have an almost completely unique experience based on your specific understandings and misunderstandings of what is being stated. So yeah, I just thought that was really cool. I love Darmok. I love everything about this episode. It's fantastic. I don't want to punch any of the characters, even like the bridge crew, in the face, which is rare for an episode of TNG. I even like the things that Troy says, which is very rare in episodes of TNG. But anyway, I really love it. It's great. Like I said, it may be my new favorite episode of TNG, which is saying something, because there's some really fantastic episodes of TNG out there. You should maybe just watch all of them. But definitely watch Darmok, and I will see you later.